Well, hello everyone and namaste. I've been getting requests from a lot of people to, talk about the content that I travel for taking interviews. I am a recruiter by profession and I have been generally asked, would you or can you help us with the tips for interviews, or how are the ways, or what are the different ways that we can go ahead and crack the interviews. So what I feel, this video is not just for freshers, but even for the experienced professionals who can go ahead and refer to the tips that I have, go ahead and make their interview experience a better experience altogether. So we will start with the 6 tips that I have for you today, and then what you can do is you can reach out to me in the other sites on LinkedIn, or you can write a mail to me, and then possibly we can discuss further on those. So let's start with the tips. Tip number 1 would be prepared. Now, being prepared just doesn't mean that you have to be prepared and dress properly. Yes, dressing up properly is one of the part and parcels of the interview process, but being prepared means be prepared with your intro, that is going to be your introduction that you are going to or will be giving to the interviewer. That's one. And be prepared with what the company is all about. So about the company or company's introduction plays a huge role in there when you go ahead and do your preparedness or your homework. Now when we talk about your intro, the major content in the intro that you're about to do would be who exactly you are, because no one other than you can tell the world what exactly as a personality that you can bring on the table, right? That's one. Do not make it very catchy. Do not fill your introduction with just giving the catchy words. Try to put minimum words, just not giving introduction like, my name is this, I come from this village or this town, and my father does this and my mother does it. It's fine. Everyone would want to know your family background, but keep it short. The major component of your introduction should be what as a person you are. Your hobbies, your strengths, your habits, your weaknesses. What is it that drives you to work, or what is it that drives you in day-to-day activity is what the interviewer would be majorly focused towards. So that's how your introduction has to be. Now let's move to the company's introduction. The company's introduction is just not about the organization. You have to have focus towards the job description. Make sure that you read the job description properly and reflect on it. Reflecting on your job description, that means that the words that the organization, try to catch the words that the organization is looking. They're looking for a digital marketing professional. What is it exactly in the digital marketing professional are they looking? Are they looking for an email campaign professional, or are they looking for, a content writer? And try to reflect that on your resume. Make sure that the job description that the company is giving and your resume, it's a kind of a replica. You are actually going ahead and telling people that yes, I am the best fit for this particular position. In company's intro or company description, you have to have focus towards the culture that the organization is following and the kind of, the day-to-day activity that the people have. Try to connect with alumni if you know, LinkedIn being the best part for it. So try to understand your interviewer. If in case you have the name of the interviewer in the mail or the recruiter, try to search that particular person on LinkedIn. Try to follow them, try to see the kind of projects or the kind of work that these people are involved into, and try to reflect that. So what happens is when you go ahead and know about the culture, when in the interview you're talking about the culture more, you give the sense to the particular interviewer that you have already absorbed the organization's introduction and the culture inside you, and you do understand there's a connect that happens between you and the interviewer. The interviewer feels that you are like-minded. And any interviewer or any professional for that matter would want to take a person or a candidate who is like-minded in the organization, right? So that's all about my first tip. Let's move on to the second tip. Tip number 2 is don't panic and be flexible. So what generally happens when we go ahead and enter a room? The moment we go ahead and enter a room, we are in so much of rush to go ahead and tell the interviewer what we know. And what we do in that, we actually tend to be in hurry. We we show them that that what exactly that replicates is that we are in panic mode, we are in rush, or what happens generally, the impact that the interviewer gets is, what, does this person even wants to get interviewed, because that particular person is so much in rush. So my suggestion in the second tip would be, do not panic. One more thing that you have to take care is be flexible. There might be chances that the interviewer or the recruiter would have reached out to you saying that, can you wait for some time, or the interviewer is getting delayed, or there are instances where you might have to show how flexible you are in nature and you are in need of that particular job. So make sure that you give that sense of flexibility to that particular interviewer or the recruiter, that you appreciate that. You appreciate them, that they are also putting effort of interviewing you. They're also putting an effort of getting you meet the particular interviewer, for the recruiter specific. So you have to make sure that you give that sense of responsiveness to them. You give that response to them that you are flexible and you appreciate, and you go ahead and compliment them for that, right? So that's exactly what is my second tip. Tip number 3 would be focus on content. Now, focus on content means your resume and your skills. Now, your resume, so generally what people do is try to bombard the resume with a lot of information, a lot of things that they have done. My suggestion would be, try to keep your resume clean, but make sure that you go ahead and give at least the glimpse of what you have done in few words or few lines. Now, what generally happens is, to impress others, the freshers specifically, I would want to call out here, that they go ahead and put the catchy words in the resume. So do not do that. The one thing that you have to make sure of doing while you're drafting your resume is be conscious or mindful of the words that you're using there, because the resume is the first point of your impression on any of the interview. Before you even enter in the room, right, what happens is the interviewer would go ahead and have a look of your resume. What I'm trying to say is, there's already an impact which is there. There's already a space that you have created through your resume before you even entered the room. So what happens in there is, if your resume is bombarded with the information, the interviewer would not actually like to go through so much of content in one pager. And the second pointer is, if you have used the catchy word, they're already prepared in the mind, let the particular person enter, I'm gonna pick these words. Don't give them that particular space of being prepared for you. Just make sure that you're giving some information in there and you do the most of the talking. You just give them, so how do we do the presentation, right? We give the pointers in the PPT and we go ahead and talk most of the content. Have bullet points in there in the resume for the reference for you to talk, so that the interviewer knows that what is going to be the topic or discussion of the topic, and then you go ahead and talk about it. That's how your resume has to be made. Now let's talk about the skill sets. The skill sets specifically for the CSIT engineers that I have gone ahead and interviewed, or for the experienced professionals, please make sure that do not mention any of the skill sets or technical skills which you do not know. And if you have mentioned and you know that this job description needs it, then read about it. Make sure that before you enter the room, you know what are the things that you have written in your resume and you have the content in your mind already ready. What are you about to go ahead and talk on it? So this was the tip number 3. So tip number 4 is body language and confidence. Now, as I was telling you about the resume, that's something that you are putting or positioning yourself before you even enter the room. What happens when you enter the room? That's where your body language comes into picture. So now everything being virtual, and we will see a lot of videos and audio on how our body language has to be or should be. So I would not get too much into that, because if anyone would want to go ahead and know how body language is, there are a lot of tutorials in there. But the major focus that I would want to draw towards is, today in digital interviews that we are going ahead and doing, right? There are few tricks and tips that you have to follow to make sure that your digital experience is good. Now, a lot of people, they generally go ahead and ask me, how do we work on our body language when interview is happening remote? There's a person on the screen and they are actually going ahead and asking us the question. How do we decide that our body language is getting across in a positive manner? It's very simple. Log in the interview few minutes before. try to see that the camera visibility of yourself and the background is good. If you don't have a good background, make sure that you use the other options that you can go ahead and blur the background or put a beautiful background behind. So make sure that you use few of the features if you are getting into the interview room. One thing. Second thing is just make sure that your eye contact with the particular person is constant. Now, no one would actually want to have an interview wherein the candidate is looking around, because this gives a mindset, because you know what, if you were in an interview room, it's easier because the environment is controlled environment. But as you are sitting remote, the particular person who's on the camera doesn't know who's sitting behind the camera. So make sure that you have a constant eye contact with the particular person. And if you would want to jot down something or write something on a pen and a paper, then make sure that you let the particular person that request or ask the interviewer that can I use pen and paper to jot down the notes that I have. So make sure that there's a constant eye contact with the particular person. And how do you make the eye contact? Do not look on the keyboard. That's not the eye contact. Make sure that you look right at the camera lenses and assume that you're actually looking at the eyes of the particular person. That's how you make the eye contact. Keep your family informed that I'm about to get into an interview, and make sure that the environment is silent. So just make sure that the environment that you make before giving an interview is a controlled environment, at least a semi-controlled environment, and start the interview and be confident. Make sure that there's a sense of confidence. Don't overdo. No one wants to see a person who's overconfident that I'll get this job. Do not have that. Make sure the communication that you're making with the person is your stuff. Don't look underconfident. Have a straight gesture while you're sitting on a chair while giving the interview, and make sure that there is a proper communication channel which is being set. Do not take too much pauses while the interview, because it shouldn't, in the virtual interviews, there should be no sign or no signal that is being sent or is being communicated on the other side that this person might be taking time to process the data from the surrounding as well. So just make sure that they get the sense that you are the only person in the room. Point number 5 would be observe and reflect. And if you are not able to reflect properly, ask. Now, what does that mean? What I'm trying to say here is, as I told you, that we are in so much of hurry to let the particular person know what skills we come with, and trying to sell us so much that we oversell ourselves. So what we have to do is listen carefully. Make sure that you listen to the questions that are being asked. Give them a proper space and time to articulate what they are trying to say. Absorb that and then reflect on that or answer on it. There might be chances that you are not able to understand the question. Then ask it. It's fine. The particular person who's sitting right in front of you is also a person who was a fresher few years back, or few years down the line you will also be on the other side of the table. It's totally fine if you don't have answers for few questions. Accept and respond. Tell them that you don't know the answers of these questions as of now, because the interviewer also would know that you cannot answer for everything and anything. So just accept it. Do not fake. Okay, do not fake, because they would know if you're fake. So just make sure that you accept that you do not know answer, and show them that you are very much eager to learn those things as well. And you know what, go ahead and ask even questions on it. I do not know it. Can you help me to understand what is it? My last tip and the 6th tip would be ask smart questions. Now, what I assume is no question is a stupid question. The question actually determines or is influenced by the environment around you, by the people that you're asking the question, and the timing of the question. So make sure that you are asking a question which is meaningful. Do not ask question for just the sake of asking, right? I have experienced a lot of freshers or even the experienced people who go ahead and ask some random question which is out of topic just because we give them a scope of asking the question. And how do you go ahead and get a sense of what to ask? The first tip says, right, that you have to go ahead and research on the person or research about the company. Have few content which is already prepared, or have something in your mind that you can go ahead and ask the interviewer. This is the only time that you will have a direct exposure with a person who's already working in the organization from quite a time, right? So this person or the interviewer would be knowing the best about the organization. So what I would suggest is have few things that you can go ahead and about the projects, and what kind of projects are happening in the organization, what culture does the organization reflect. Tell them that you've read about it, but you know what, it's very interesting to hear from the person person who's already working in it. You can ask follow-up questions on the job description. You can ask follow-up questions on the organization's culture. You can ask follow-up questions on the kind of projects that are happening. And if you did get a time to follow the person on LinkedIn, ask a follow-up question on any of the interest areas of that particular person. The implication or the sign that you will be sending to that person or the interviewer is that you're interested. So these are my 6 tips on the interview tips. And if you would want to connect with me offline, please go ahead and write me a mail. My Gmail ID is mentioned in the description. You can go ahead and follow me on LinkedIn as well. So if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. And please do let me know if you would want me to make such informational content in future as well on the comment below. So see you soon with a new video.